When I first started teaching, I thought I had everything I needed for classroom management. I had my clip chart ready to go, I had think sheets, etc., etc. Well, I quickly realized that I had no idea what I was doing. And I was constantly putting out fires during lessons. I felt like my students were always out of their seats, always talking to each other, always interrupting me, and that I didn't actually get to teach my lesson because I was so busy getting my students back engaged into what we were doing. Throughout the years, though, I learned the right things to focus on for classroom management for back to school season. So, with that being said, how ready are you actually? Is your classroom management for back to school? Take this 10-question quiz to find out. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is how to keep track of your score. So these are going to be simple yes or no questions. You're just going to answer yes or no. You're going to count how many of these you say yes to, and at the end, I'm going to share what your results mean. So with that being said, let's dive into the question. The first question is, do you have your top 5 classroom procedures already planned or outlined? Number 2, do you have a system for teaching and practicing expectations during the first week of school? Number 3, do you feel confident responding to common student behaviors like talking out, not listening, being out of their seats, not raising their hands, etc., without overreacting? Number 4, do you have a clear plan for how students will enter the classroom each day? What are the expectations? What are they supposed to do when they first come in? What are the steps? Number 5, do you know how you'll redirect a student who repeatedly tests boundaries? If you ask them to do something over and over again, what are you going to do next? Number 6, do your classroom jobs, seating charts, or routines support student independence? Do you have these in place, and do they help more students take ownership in the classroom of their learning? Number 7, do you have a strategy for handling transitions smoothly and minimizing downtime and disruptive behavior? What do your transitions look like? How do you plan on preventing disruptive behavior during this time? Because it's one of the most common times for disruptive behavior to occur. Number 8, do you have visual reminders or cues that support student behaviors? Do you have visuals on what the expectations are when students line up, raise their hand, etc.? And the next one is, do you feel confident holding students accountable consistently without guilt or stress? How are you not going to give them 20 warnings before you take action? Do you have a step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when a student isn't following the expectations in class? And the final question, do you have a go-to plan for when procedures stop working mid-year? When most of your class is no longer following the procedure, what then? What are you going to do next? So those were the 10 questions I have for you for this quiz. So take some time to pause wherever you're tuning in from and tally how many of those you could say yes to. After you've done that, here are your results. So if you got anywhere from 8 to 10 that were a yes, then that means yes, you're almost there. If you scored here, I highly recommend you check out my classroom management guide. This is to fine-tune and polish a couple of those areas you're missing. In this free guide, I answer your top 10 questions you have in regards to classroom management, and I link to additional podcasts and YouTube videos. So if you want a deeper explanation than I give in the guide, you can find that there. If you scored anywhere from 4 to 7, that means you're on your way, but you've got some gaps to fill. If this is you, I recommend checking out my classroom management bundle for plug and play support. This is perfect for teachers who already have a good, strong foundation in classroom management, but they're wanting some resources to take their classroom management to the next level. Inside this bundle, I have things like classroom procedure slides, classroom jobs, super improver walls, etc. And even if you don't necessarily want to use the stuff in the classroom management bundle, you can always go and get some ideas and inspiration on what some of these resources could look like in your classroom, and honestly get a sneak peek on what it's like in my classroom without being a fly on a wall inside my classroom. So make sure to check that out. If you scored anywhere from 0 to 3, that means it's time for a full reset and ongoing support. If this is you, I recommend checking out the Present Teacher Circle. The Present Teacher Circle is my community of new and first year teachers where I show you everything and all the systems I have in my classroom. Everything from classroom management to planning and prepping a couple weeks out in advance. What I love about this community is we do an annual classroom management challenge where over the course of 2 weeks, I give you one prompt that you can do each day that takes less than 5 minutes to improve your classroom management. Plus, I give you a different common scenario of students who are partaking disruptive behavior and how I personally would solve that situation without you having to be there, like I said, but I give you a scenario on how I would solve that. And like I said, this is my place for systems all the way from everything classroom management to communication to grading to planning and prepping to organizing. So if you want that mentorship and really want to see what it's like to be in my classroom and have me as your guide and mentor on everything classroom management and more, definitely go check that out. We would love to have you. So that wraps up the quiz. How did you do? Are you ready for back to school, or does your classroom management need a little bit of tweaking? Let me know in the comments or send me a DM. I would love to chat. If wherever you're tuning in from, I would really love it if you could subscribe or leave a review so more content like this can reach more new and first year teachers and help them with their classroom management journey. As always, remember, we are stronger together, and I'll see you in the next one, Teacher Bestie. Bye!